Welcome, welcome, boys. Okay, in this video we're going to be changing the rear shocks on this 2010 Dodge Challenger. If you're a viewer of the channel frequently, you'll recognize this as my dad's 2010 Dodge Challenger. We've done some work on it before on the channel, and he's been complaining that it kind of clunks in one of the corners on the back when he drives over bumps. Now, originally I thought this had struts on the back, as a lot of the cars I'm working on lately do. The BMW has struts on the back. Katie's Neon and her grandpa's Neon both had struts in the back. All four struts. But come to find out, pleasantly, this has shocks in the back, so I don't need the spring compressor I grabbed. This will be a fairly easy job. So, first order of business, I've jacked the car up and pulled the wheel off. And I'm going to go ahead and go inside and get you guys a better view of some of the suspension components inside, in case you're wondering what that looks like or what any of that entails. And then we're going to go over doing the shock itself. Okay, so with a bit of light on, if we go in here, this is what some of the suspension components you're looking at is. We've got this rear lower control arm, possibly a guide link. It goes from the knuckle over there to the frame. We've got our sway bar and its end link. Our axle shaft down there with that big old boot. We have another upper control arm here, going from the knuckle over into the frame. And then this guy over here, maybe this thing's actually the guide link that goes from this knuckle over to that frame there. So a lot of bushings. No real ball joints that I can see. I believe all these classify as a bushing. So a little bit easier to do than, say, the BMW, for example. But I would think this thing would ride really smooth otherwise, having all these points of contact here. Now, I'm looking at some of the bushings. Some of them look a little dried out, especially like right up in here. But maybe I can just kind of silicone grease that and they should be all right. So we have some made in Mexico ZF shocks here. I know ZF made shocks. I know them for making transmissions and power steering stuff for BMWs. But this shock is definitely leaking. So we got two bolts up here at the top and one down here at the bottom. Now, since this isn't attached to the spring, what's going to happen is if you just try to take this shock completely off, there's a good chance that that spring is going to pop out of here. It's going to fling this arm down. You're going to have a bad time. So what I'm going to do is get another jack, or I might put a jack stand in here to hold that and use this jack to kind of get under here and hold this up, maybe by the rotor, so it just won't go down any further. So when I take this shock out of here, we won't have problems with it flopping around all over the place. So I'm going to see what the best position to put you guys in is, and then we'll start recording and getting her done. Okay, boys, so here's the new shock. Appears to be the same size. One thing that's semi-concerning here. So here we have this pokey thing up the top that's threaded, you know, the shock rod itself. We have some, assuming that's going to be the thing that threads over that, and some mounts. Now this looks slightly different than what we got going on up in here, so I'm thinking either A, those come down and that's all going to come down as one, and then, well, that'll be fine, or what's probably more likely is that pokey thing, that rod, threads up into the car's interior somewhere, which looks like it would be the trunk, but I looked in the trunk and there's nothing in there. So hopefully this isn't a back seat out kind of job like the BMW's was, or I'm not going to have a fun time. So these are two 16 millimeters. Let's try and get them out and see if I can get this thing to come down, or if it's going to be a royal pain in the ass. All right. Okay, boys, so this won't be that big of a pain in the ass. I was a little nervous, but nope, it just comes right out. So all I have to do is get this crap off so I can get that guy and transplant it onto the new one. So that won't be too bad, I don't think. We'll be able to hold this in place and then bust that loose with a wrench. Or I guess I could hold that with a wrench and then bust that loose by impact, like I did in the Neon video. So I'll explain now then. If you're wondering how that works, you either have to hold this in place and then loosen this nut, or you can hold this nut in place and then tighten this rod, and then it'll spin that thing off of there. But as you see, the shocks are easy to move down and they don't quite go back up, so they are blown out. Alright, so that's fucking easy. Let's get to the bottom one now, which is I wonder if that's also a 16. No, might be a 17. Yeah, 17 will fit, so I'll just zip that off with the impact. You probably didn't see jack shit of that, did you? Alright, so there's the bottom of it. 17. Should be able to just pull this nut off, and then I think the rod will come clean out of there. I think. Let's see. Okay, boys, and I use a 15mm wrench to hold the nut on the bottom of the shock while I use the impact driver to zip that 17mm nut off. This should come out now, I think. Almost, once I thread this bolt the rest of the way out of here. Out of the bottom. There it is. Alrighty. Got it. Okay, so I think I'll try to hold this in place with something here. Let's see how big this thing is. 16's a little too wobbly. Let's try 15. Yep, 15 fits perfectly. Okay. So try to hold it on with a 15 and we'll see if I can tighten the rod and then just pull this stuff off. Okay, so because I was too lazy to go get a proper sized wrench, when I opened my dad's trunk earlier, I noticed he has a giant crescent wrench. So we got our 15 mil here, our crescent over here, and now we just tighten with the crescent the shaft, and then that will loosen this nut. Alright, got my stuff installed on the new shock here. So this is, of course, a different size nut, because why wouldn't it be? So 16 now. And 1/4 inch. I went inside and grabbed that too. So you just simply assemble everything you need in order from the bottom. We've got the metal deal up against that bushing, which rests up against this plate. And then on this side, the bushing, our new disc deal. And then that'll hold, the nut will kind of clamp it all down. So all I did was just slap the 16 on, grabbed the shaft with my hand here and just rotated it until I got snug. And then once it was snug and I couldn't do any more by hand, you then stick your little 1/4 inch and then try to loosen while you try to tighten the nut. And then once it doesn't move anymore, it's golden. Now let's put it back in. All right, boys, so we got everything started now. That's through there. So now let's just torque everything up, and then I'll see you boys on the other side, where we'll time lapse the other side. I'm not sure if I want to do POV time lapse on the other side or just move the camera ray stationary and then show you the other side, time lapse it that way. I imagine if my head's moving around too much, it might make you guys dizzy. So let's do a far away view. Damn, look at these rotors, son. These things are roached. I think he needs some new rotors. And he's getting dangerously close to the end of those pads on the back, too. Them pads are roached, so I'll have to let him know he needs brakes coming up. Brakes and rotors. So I guess look forward to that video coming out soon. And that's it, boys. In real time, that took me 12 minutes. So 12 minutes to do a shock on each side. Now, my dad, before he asked me to do this, had called a shop, and I think they quoted him, I'd have to ask him again, but I want to say in the range like $300 to change the shocks, and I think that was just for the labor. But I did it in 12 minutes. Now, the one side seems longer, so I had to explain to you everything, but when you watch the time-lapse version on this side, that was 12 minutes. So don't take it to a shop. And this is actually even easier than I thought it was going to be. I thought there were struts on the back. And I was like, oh, it's not a big deal. Because those guys were, he said that the people at the shop was like, oh, no, it's going to be a pain in the ass. It's going to be like $300. So we gotta go into the trunk and no. And so I was like, well, that's not that big of a deal. So I was thinking, taking them at that word, that there were struts on the back, and it was going to be like the Neon or the BMW, where the struts mount, well, in the BMW, the struts mount inside the interior of the car, so you have to take the whole back seat out to get to the top of the struts to release them. But in the Neon, on the other side of the Challenger here, you can just go in through the trunk, and there's the 3 13mm that hold each point of the strut, so you just drop those loose, disconnect it from the bottom, and then you're out, transfer the spring and all that good stuff. But this is even easier, 12 minutes per side, so you can have this done in time for lunch if you do it yourselves. So screw you people at the shop trying to charge my dad $300 for some bullshit that you can do in 12 minutes. And you fuckers could probably do it faster than me even, because you probably have all your tools already ready. I had to go and scavenge mine, but 12 minutes. So, alright boys, hope you enjoyed the video. And next Challenger video is probably going to be the front struts. There's actually are struts on the front. We're going to do those. I could probably do them today, but unfortunately today is my anniversary. So I gotta, spend time with the wife. But I reckon I could probably get them done today if I want. But that'll be next week. I'll get the struts done on the Challenger. So 2 videos we know of are coming out. Gonna be struts on the front and the brakes on the rear. And I may or may not do the thermostat in it. I might just wait till spring to do that, because his thermostat's stuck kind of open, so he gets a code occasionally in the winter when it's cold out and he's running the heater for insufficient heating of the engine thermostat, blah blah blah, or something of that effect. But for now, I think we're done. So hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, boys. Peace.